Hello everyone. So this video is the continuation of the last video that we had, and I just broke it in two parts as it was going lengthy in last one. Probably it could go boring from there. So we talked about that this function that we have created. This is a constructor function that we saw, and this is how we can use it. In last video we had a very lengthy discussion over this. I said a thing that this is a little unsafe to use, and what it can lead to is either error or polluting the window object. Now what do I mean when I say it could pollute the window object or it could pollute the global object? See, what this will point globally here is to window, and if we are in strict mode, then this will point to undefined. That is a different story. If we are using node, then this may point to the global object. That is different there, that window is not available there. And here, if we call function directly, what we are doing, we are setting up this dot weight to a particular value. Since this refers to window object, if we directly call fish, it will create new variables within window object that will have some values, and it might sometimes it might create new variables. Sometimes it might the variable name might collide with the some variable that is already there in window and might pollute the window object entirely. So we'll see how it's polluting. Right now there is nothing called weight within window object. That is why we are getting weight as undefined. So this dot weight is undefined, and there is nothing called age as well. So this dot age is undefined. But as soon as I try to call fish directly, so say if I make this mistake that I call fish without new operator, it won't give me error because it's a simple function. But will it create an object? No, gills is still undefined. What it did, since there was no new operator that we had used, and what our function was doing, it was simply adding this dot weight to the weight that we pass and this dot age. So it took this, which would be the window object. Let's see. So this is the window object, and this dot age is now set to 6, and this dot weight is now set to 7. And we have just created new objects. Hooray! So this is how we have now polluted the window object. Now if we are doing this, it's not the best thing to do, and we need to stop polluting the window object. So there are two ways. I mean, there can be multiple ways that we stop polluting window object, and you can choose any of them. But there are two popular ways that are used to save us from this catastrophic thing, and we'll see what are those two ways. So first thing is we can leverage this instance of operator. So first, this is why we discussed instance of operator in last lecture as well. So what we said that in what instance of operator checks is that if the particular value that is passed, instance of, right? So there will be two values, x and y, x and y. What it checks is if x dot underscore underscore proto has, my bad, not has, is equals to y dot prototype, y dot prototype. There is a difference between underscore underscore proto and prototype. Prototype is not the not the base object. It's a key a key value pair that it will look for. If yes, then return true. If no, then checks. Then it what it will do, down it will go down the prototype chain. Proto, it will check in proto dot underscore underscore proto. It will iterate until it leads to null, or until it finds it. Basically, it checks within the prototype chain, a complete prototype chain. Say X is having a prototype of fish, and fish is having a prototype of complete O object, and object is having a prototype of null. This is the hierarchy of a newly created fish. Okay, that we have created. I'll show you. This is the hierarchy. So Nemo is our newly created fish. Nemo will be an instance of fish. That is true. Nemo will be an instance of object as well. That is true. Will be an instance of null. I'm not sure. Null cannot be an operand because it accepts two objects only. So if I say, okay, and second thing, we can only pass a function, so it gives an type error, but I can create a function here only. Ction TURN0. So it says false because it will have a different prototype value, right? And that doesn't lie anywhere between this prototype chain. So this is how instance of operator works. Just a quick reminder, if you might have forgot it, or if it was not clear. I believe it was not much clear in previous discussion. Actually, all these concepts are pretty interlinked. So to fully understand new operator, you might have to understand what function dot prototype is, and why would you understand function dot prototype when you'll understand some concepts here and there. So it's pretty interlinked. Now, what second thing our new operator was doing was setting newly created objects underscore underscore proto to function dot prototype. Remember, we can leverage this. How? Let's go back to definition of our function here. Okay, where have I defined this function? This is the definition of function, right? Here, if I console.log this instance of fish, it will come out true. Why it will come out true? Because in second step, it sets up the proto to fish dot prototype. So now, pardon. Now if I create a new fish out of it, say NF, say see it says true, and if I try to call it without new operator, if 1, then it will say false. Why? Because when I called it from here, then it was an instance of fish. This was pointing to an instance of fish where we want these values, and there it works fine. But when I called it on the global window object, then window object won't be an instance of fish, very obviously. So it gave us false. In that case, what we can do is we can say if the instance that is passed to us is not an instance of fish, then do one thing, return new, and call this function simply. Now we modified this code. So what we did, we checked whether the context that in which this function is called is an instance of fish or not. If it is an instance of fish, then do this. And if it is not an instance of fish, then definitely they won't have called it with the new operator. Then do one thing, call it with the new operator and return the result whatever it gives us. Now this will actually create a new object for NF3. Let's check NF3, and we have finally solved our problem. So this is one way of solving our problem. Another way would be, there is a particular thing called new.target. Now what new.target is similar, will produce similar results to this, but there will be some differences. So first let's see if it works or not, and then we'll talk about the differences. We have extensively explained how instance of operator works and why this is working. And let's see if this also works or not quickly. So we'll create a new object NF4. So NF4 works. And even if we create with new operator, then also it will work fine. So NF5 will also exist. Okay. Now what new.target does is it's very simple. That's why we didn't discuss it previously, because it can come up right now. Need to keep it away. What new.target returns is, it simply returns, so we can only write new.target inside a function, and it either returns true or it returns false based on the fact that if this function was called with a new operator or not. So if we call a function with new operator, new.target will return true. else it will return false. It's simple. Now, what is the difference? What is the difference between this and this? So let's see what's the difference between these two definitions. It's very simple actually. Since now let's say that we have NF5 in place. Now let's say I I create a new object. I create a new object NF6 and it is a simple object. And what I try to do is I call NF6 dot, I'll try to call fish, and instead of new I'll try to bind it myself to NF6 and I'll pass values for weight and this. Will it, right now this new dot target is there as the definition. So what will it do? It will return false to me. It will return false to me. Why it will return false? Because there was no new operator. So will anything change for NF6? NF6? No, NF6, nothing will change. So let's see if there is any difference with instance of approach. Now, if I just remove, okay, I don't need to remove anything. Now, if we call this, it will again do nothing because NF6 is not an instance of NF6. NF6 is still not an instance. But what if I say NF6 dot, okay, we can control exit and object dot set prototype of NF6 to fish dot prototype. What if we do this? Now, when we do this, then we set the prototype of NF6 to fish dot prototype. Hence, this will turn out to be true. So now if I do this, now if you see it, now NF6 has finally turned the values here, because this is only possible because we are not checking new dot target. New dot target will still return false because this fish dot call is not targeted by new operator. It is explicitly bounded by call, and hence we were able to do this. So what is better? What is better approach to make a constructor a safe constructor? Is it using instance of, or is it using new dot target? In JavaScript, when it ships the code, it uses new dot target. So you can check it via trying to do the same things that we did here on arrays, but it actually depends on the use case. If you have some use case where you want to call where you want to be able to do this efficiently, then you can use this way. Else, most of the times this would be a better approach. And that was a pretty extensive discussion on how we can create constructor functions, what are safe constructor functions, and how we can make constructor functions safe. In next video, what we'll see is how we can do data hiding and how we can create private variables using this syntax, and we'll also see how we can create static variables as well. And if you don't know what are static variables, then we'll also see what are static variables. So that's it for this video. Let's jump to the next one.